The following is copywritten intellectual property. Note that all rights are reserved to the writer. Any and all infringements in any capacity shall be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. With that being said, the listener, by choosing to proceed, understands and therefore agrees to the authority legally allotted to the writer. Before we begin, I would like to take this chance to point out an error. In reference to section B, addendum 6, please replace the term quote, reinforcement, unquote, with quote, stimuli, unquote. King Cancer presents Madness Devoted, the Socio-Efficacy and Efficiency Project, quote, One Man's Apocalypse, unquote. Conducted from June 21st, 2002 through October 23rd, 2008. Table of contents for the Zeitgeist theory and character denotation. A. The Zeitgeist's defining methods of observation, manipulation, and conduct. 1. Reverse psychology. 2. Vague subjects. 3. Tactful verbosity and manipulative terminology. 4. False dilemma. 5. Flagellant silence, pregnant silence, or coined as the FS/PS. 6. Socio-empathetic manifestation. 7. Subcognizant discrepancies. 8. Benign hypnosis. 9. Schizophrenia engineering. B. The Zeitgeist's definitive observations and interpretations. 1. Predation. 2. Self-victimization. 3. Doppelganger effect. 4. Plausible deniability. 5. Perpetual Ainst circuit. 6. Negative versus positive reinforcement. 7. Hyperintellectualization. 8. Socio-subversion. 9. Ego gratification. 10. Cognizant predestination. 11. Mortality, the render's victim. 12. Enlightenment spiral. 13. The nature of dream and creation. C. The Zeitgeist's defining theories of ascension and intent. 1. Infection and extortion of the collective conscious. 2. Nexus Empire Engine. 3. Theophobic resonance cascade. 4. Perpetual societal sustenance. The Zeitgeist theory and character denotation. Zeitgeist. Noun. Ideas and spirit of time. The ideas prevalent in a period and place, particularly as expressed in literature, philosophy, and religion. Theoretical character synopsis key points is a plausible theory created to surmise and explain observed research. A prediction of the exacerbation of sociopaths' tactics and results. Amalgamation of multiple pervasive ideologies. An interpretation of the ideological foibles inherent in sentience. Is not a specific gender. Remanded to one person or group. Specified to any era. Scientifically proven. Inevitable. The Zeitgeist is a causal metaphor I shall use as a reference to a more nefarious and ominous entity conveyed as a character. I am remanded to claiming him as a character for so many take a paraphrase of his form. He is of the disposition to challenge every interaction and persons in which to an existential debate to denote the potentials of sentience and their inherent inhibitions. Essentially, anyone who resists predation with the wisdom of peaceful protest or passive resistance inevitably engages the processes of this theorem in some form. I have found it eerily reminiscent of the DNA protein folding software in which the research processes are delegated to the countless whom chose to pursue their research for internet/communal accolades. Inevitably the data is relinquished to the project manager and sent to professionals whom are capable of applying said research for medical advancements. For the Zeitgeist folding parallel there are countless individuals whose senses are honed, regardless if cognizant, intriguingly to search out the causal foibles of interaction sown by the individual's perception. These individuals exhibit or dissect these flaws latent in the interaction, disregarding most if not all other faculties to cut to the chase. Oh, those whom are cognizant of their research endure their trials under the ignorant guise of that. They induce the perception that they are alone on their quest, thus, they thrive in isolation and alone shall reap rewards sown in their labors. This philosophical horticultural contingency is negated from entering the collective conscious due to the primary catalyst of the research and scholar's efficacy is derived from the ego. The character, the Zeitgeist, that I shall outline is an amalgamation of probabilities based on the sociological efficacy and efficiency project, redacted to the tangible realm of his cognitive processes and their psychological denotations. Furthermore, quite literally, the theoretical Zeitgeist is an exaggerated epitome of the ignorance and malice propagated by this species throughout every interaction, a self-proclaimed, exacerbated sociopaths whom we'll fame flagellant to obtain passive-aggressive dominance over those necessary to bring to fruition his sadomasochistic and self-aggrandizing agenda. By presenting himself in a coy demeanor, he baits his targets with the opiate of their own predatory vices to obtain their darkest secrets for the purposes of extortion and manipulation. He has deduced that if he denies contributing stimuli to an interaction that due to the individual's, his target's, inability to fathom the very notion of non-existence, that they will imagine and project their assumptions of the interaction into the void, he creates, thus illustrating vast facets of their psyche to him. Given the spectacle of the anomaly, his knowledge of him swiftly spreads, much as bad reputations inevitably do. He understands the potential in which and intends to act such facilitated his agenda. The Zeitgeist's defining methods of observation, manipulation, and conduct. Examples of Zeitgeist's application. 1. Reverse psychology. He insists persistently for a resolution to agitate the target's ego, thus forcing the tone of the encounter to that of hostility. Remanding said tone to the intangible, by maintaining plausible deniability, inspires the target to perceive that their usual modes of interaction had been found out and used against their intentions, thus invoking a false dilemma, in which a series of misinterpretations had evolved rapidly to a confrontational impasse. With tensions mounting in the rate and connotations, the target then triggers the target's fearful instincts to the effect of 1. Conscious, the self, the combat, the weaknesses, the potential ramification, the conflict, the original desired resolution, the evolution of the encounter, the trigger for the hostility, scanning the evolution for where said miscommunication occurred, methods of negating/diffusing said hostility, and the plethora of possible resolutions allotted when all has been accounted for. 2. Subconscious, all the above, all pre-existing psychological dispositions, exterior victimization, abandonment, security and the present lack of which, feral/survival instinctual circuit, traumatic recollections, and any learned coping techniques comparing the situation to any previous scenarios. After the target's cognizant processes have been overwhelmed with too many variables to calculate in such a limited window, the fear that is then induced engages the subconscious survival circuits to bring about a hasty resolution to the tensions fabricated. All more primitive targets may oblige this as a form of predation and seek to assert their dominance via escalating the hostility from the realm of passive-aggressive/plausible deniability, debate to that of argumentation, then furthering the resolution to a physical incarnation. The tendencies of violence within the collective are not uncommon, yet tend to be avoided due to their repercussions. The following tend to be more plausible scenarios for the target's reactions to diffuse, stalemate, or concede. When the target has insinuated their choice, regardless of which, he will immediately feign with full conviction to be bewildered with the sudden tonal change of the interaction. Then, he will swiftly go on the direct offensive by interrogating the target about their assumption of the interaction's connotation, thus accusing them of blatant paranoia while maintaining his plausible deniability. The target is then forced to undergo the same processes as before in a vastly shorter time allowance, yet in the defensive. Seeing as before the target was forced to be the aggressor to rouse him to admit and confront the false dilemma bluntly. Inevitably whatever the target has inferred about him must now be sought out of the target for his guilt in creating the inquisition. After making such assertions, the target probability of devising a rebuttal exponentially decreases and is forced to admit defeat via one of the previously stated four contingencies.